All right, it's 8:30. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Do we have any public comments? Any public comments? Any public comments? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to acknowledge the minutes from December 2nd?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, supervisors. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Outstanding. I'm always pleasantly surprised when technology works.
He's dressed in a
Let's see, we have
t-shirt.
two new employees.
You're dressed in a t-shirt. You're supposed to have dress clothes on.
I'm in Arizona, man.
Oh,
All right, morning, Dwayne.
It's okay. So yeah,
Morning,
we've got our two new drivers working this morning. They passed their pre-employment requirements, so we'll get them out and get them to work. Jess will dial them in and get somebody to kind of train them on what we need them to do. Other than that, they're still working away on the bridge, and Thomas is in charge till I get back Thursday morning. Let's see, we've had a couple of right-of-way requests and a couple of plat requests. Other than that, we're just kind of business as usual.
You
I
need me
think
to
you've got
stop in
a
and sign any?
vacation. I don't think so at this time. I don't think there is anything that can't wait until Thursday. Oh, Highway 1 south of town will be closed for probably the best part of a week, week and a half as they do a pipeline repair. During that time, the detour will be down Glasgow Road to Stockport Road and then south to Birmingham and then back to 1. That was really the only decent route that they could come up with. So there will be some increased traffic on Glasgow and Stockport Road.
Dwayne, do you know, is that just south of the county line road or north of the county line road?
It is north of the county line road, but not by far. I don't. Well, it's pretty much where the pipeline crosses, but I think it's north of the county line road.
Is that the new
I'm more
pipeline?
concerned go ahead.
He didn't hear you.
Is that the new pipeline? New
I
as in
really don't know. I was
2016?
more concerned with what we were going to do with traffic than
Yeah,
which pipeline it actually was.
okay.
But the DOT is handling most of that since it's a DOT road.
All right, very good. Anything else for us? All
I
righty,
don't think so.
we'll move on.
I think we're good.
Okay,
I'll be
thanks.
back in the office Thursday, and I've got my phone with me if you need me.
Okay. Number 2, set date and time for public hearing for vacation of various streets and alleys East Pleasant Plain. So, what do you need? At least a couple weeks out? Do we need Elizabeth here for that?
No,
So when do you want to do that? Do you want to wait till January? I doubt if there's any hurry.
How far out we have to wait?
yeah, at least 2 weeks so that it can be published.
Oh, okay.
Probably the 23rd is not a good day to have a hearing.
No, I would, that's all I was thinking, we just, I don't care, whatever you want, whatever you want to do.
30th or the 6th.
We'll have a lot of business on the 6th, but
So
not an-
do the 30th, because I can't wait to see you guys one more time.
That's fine with me. I don't care.
So somebody
I'll
make
be
a
here Either
motion
way.
I motion we have the public hearing on the 30th of December.
at 9 o'clock.
No, 7:30.
Yeah, I was gonna say 7:30, but he never likes that, so at 9 AM. That'll give Abby time to get to work.
I'll second that motion. Do we have any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
December 30th at 9 AM, meet with ambulance director. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. So statistics from November, we ran 171 calls. And that out of 176 patient contacts and I believe it was 21 transfers from Jefferson County Hospital. We billed out 136,000-ish. I don't remember the exact number, but in November. So that was quite a bit more than I think we billed out in October, so
What's our
that's
collection?
nice. What's that?
What's our collection? It doesn't matter what we bill.
Well, right, and I mean, it's too early to tell exactly where we're at, because we're usually
Do you know what our
months behind.
year to date is?
For collections,
Mhm.
I don't, off the top of my head, I can get that to you though.
Yeah,
Yep.
that'd be
We
helpful.
are, for the calendar year, January to, as of November 20th. So that doesn't count anything after.
Right.
November 20th. Estimated round figures. 496,000 is what we collected
Okay,
Where did you get that information?
for the billing company.
Oh, okay.
so have
Thanks
you
for
been
sharing that
working
with
on
us.
the,
Well, I just got it, so
Mhm.
what?
have you been working on it, setting up a meeting at the
Oh,
hospital?
it's his counterpart. He knows who to contact.
For the hospital, yeah, so I haven't reached out to them yet. I had a pretty good conversation with our billing coordinator, I guess, call her Triana, on Wednesday. I got a spreadsheet of all the transfers we've done with the hospital since our inception. Breaking that information down, waiting to hear back from her again regarding that, but I think once I get that information in, or I'll reach out to the hospital today.
I
and
would
try to
go
get-
ahead
yeah, I'll
because
reach out
it's-
to the hospital today and get that scheduled.
In my experience, it takes them several days to actually schedule
Yeah.
something, so go ahead and get it on the
Okay,
books.
And then, yeah, well, hopefully I hear back from Cheyenne again about the questions I had, but I mean, it was a lot of information and it was a really good conversation I had with her last week.
Good. And
Yeah.
remember, check that IAMSO website. And 2 people can be on that. It's my understanding
Mhm.
from the county, so maybe somebody from the board. And I say that because remember, there's that billing conference that was last summer. Keep your eyes for that.
Mm.
Because that would be helpful for you to attend,
Yeah.
and you had just started at the time it was
Yeah.
held. But please put that on your radars, because somebody needs to attend that. I
Mhm.
think there'll be a lot of helpful
Oh,
information
absolutely.
for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I will. I'll reach out to the hospital today and see about getting that on the books and then
Yeah.
hopefully have that information back from Cheyenne before we have that meeting.
And hopefully ask him if he can meet before Christmas,
Mhm.
because otherwise I have a feeling it'll get pushed and then you're gonna lose the timeline game.
All right. Other than that, staffing, Casa will be back from maternity leave here soon. I think she's chomping at the bit to come back. She keeps asking what she can do in the meantime. Rob Kendall's back. He's working basically weekends, Fridays, Saturdays. He was off for quite a while with an ankle injury. Our other medic's still out on injury. She was in a car crash a couple weeks ago. And then we have a new EMT starting on December 11th, one of the new hires that was approved last week. Other news, I guess, new drug bags are going to be put into place here pretty quick. We've been working with the hospital pharmacy to kind of rearrange what we've got going on there. So instead of having any medications on base, all of our stuff will be done through the pharmacy at the hospital. So I've been working with Katie out there. Talked about the agreement with the hospital already, still working on that. It was asked about snow removal. Do you have any recommendations or know of any information about who did snow removal there last year?
Well,
For
the
us.
county's been coming in and doing.
The
it.
county,
That
so,
was with, so you have to check with Jess Rauscher.
okay,
He's the new road supervisor.
okay.
But it is a priority. They always knew that that was a
Right,
priority.
yeah, and yeah, I'm fine with that. I just didn't know what they did last year. The concern, and Dwayne brought it up to me last week or 2 weeks ago, that they start at 5. So anything we need before that is gonna be an issue. I didn't know if they dealt with that last year at all, or,
We didn't have any problems last year.
okay,
So,
so just
um,
keep working with the county to do.
A lot of places don't clear snow till, first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
Melissa said, pretty sure they hired it out last year. They only did it a few times.
Okay,
I don't think we have a lot of snows other than the big one.
we never got a bill for it. They hired it out.
okay,
So. But keeping it clean is priority.
Mhm.
And as far as I'm concerned, that's county, so it should be done. We shouldn't be having to hire it out. Period.
okay. I'm good with that. All right, any questions for me?
No. Either of you? All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, meet with Sean Morrissey for Jefferson County Conservation Board's update.
Oh, thank you, sir. Color. Sweet. Thank you.
Okay, just so everybody knows, the conservation boards are under chapter 350 of the Iowa Code, and we are required annually to report to the Board of Supervisors our activities, accomplishments, projects, that kind of thing. And we've put most of that in this report that I just handed out to you. And we'll just go through that as quickly or slowly as you like. I know you have other things on your agenda this morning. Okay, so we'll just jump right in. That first page, first of all, this covers the period from July, the last fiscal year, July 2023 to June 30th of 2024. You can see on this first page here, we have a new employee in that time period. Our prior naturalist left us, and we have a new one named Austin Rowe. Seems to be doing a good job so far.
Pretty good fisherman, it looks like.
Yeah, he likes the outdoors, and that was the photo he had for us to throw in here, so you know what he looks like. The next page shows our board members to familiarize you all. We have 2 fairly new ones, Gavin Stever and Molly Mazinski. We have a couple longtime board members, Terry Deers and Gene Parker, and then Corey Clem as well. Those are the people that kind of guide what we do and oversee everything and make the decisions. They are my boss, basically. Then we list our personnel. We have myself, Bob Leisure still there as our operations supervisor, does a lot of maintenance. We have a new park ranger, Kristen Bernstead. Well, she's not brand new, but she's been there a little over a year. We'll talk about her a little bit later. And then Austin, obviously. And then Brittany Tiller was there and left the position during that period. We also have a few seasonal or part-time employees. John Porin helps us kind of collect camping fees and does some mowing and stuff at McCoon Access. Delbert Nordyke still helps us with Gobble Park. If you're familiar with that, it's just a little park in Abingdon. Then we have some contract mowers for some of our outlying areas there. Dane Nelson is a kind of, he's not full-time, but he's working for us year round, I believe 28 hours, just under what what we need to not provide benefits, but he's been a good addition for us and helped us out throughout the year. Okay, moving on, there's some details of our environmental education program, which is what the naturalist does. He does a lot of work. He and Brittany both did a lot of work with school groups and other types of public programs. And there's some numbers there. There's a little bit of a drop off, and I think you can just attribute that to the changeover. We had a person leave and another one come in, and he's still kind of getting his feet under him. But we're serving thousands of people, you can see there, and very well received in the county. And I think more and more it's beneficial, especially for the kids to, we see a lot of kids that don't get an opportunity to get outside or be active, and they really need that more than ever. And we're kind of able to show them some options for that as far as the parks and some of the, kayaking and fishing, the things that we're teaching them. A lot of the kids they're not getting that at home anymore. So kind of a little bit of an opportunity for them to experience that. And I think more so than ever, it's important to continue providing that in the county. The other thing I just mentioned, we have you can read through these if you want, but the summer nature camps are very popular. We have a trail drive through that we do every fall that's very, very well attended, almost too much traffic sometimes, where we let them drive through the loop trail, and but those numbers are included there. Then moving on to the next page, it's like page 4 at the bottom, land acquisition. There was none during this period. Minor, looks like we bought a mower and we bought a used dump truck from the county road department. We did have a mower tractor that was totaled, an accident with one of our seasonal staff. But insurance did take care of that. So once in a while, insurance is a good thing. Then we've got a section on grants, and this is kind of the big ticket item for this report. Obviously, you're aware we're doing like almost a $1.2 million campground development. You guys were a very big part of that with some of your ARPA funds. We also received a Destination Iowa grant for $450,000. And then we're putting in the rest out of our revenue, and we did get a $100,000 donation. I guess the point is that is being done with all non-taxpayer or property tax in Jefferson County. It's outside money that's funding that. I have to point that out to people occasionally that grumble a little bit about it, but it's going to be a very good thing, and I think it's going to be very well used once it's opened up and into the future. And then we list a couple other grants that we've been working on. We're trying to get money for a paving project on the Cedar View Trail. We have $318,000 of that already secured, but we're still haven't been successful yet on getting the remainder of that. So that's a little bit in limbo. That money's not available till the end of 2025 and 2026. So we got a little time, but it is approaching. There's a couple smaller grants we've been getting for habitat restoration work. Round Prairie Parks had a lot of habitat restoration work. That's a park that has a lot of native remnant prairie that's kind of a rare habitat, and we're trying to keep that intact. The other big one, this is kind of an odd deal, but the Whittam Woods on the west side of Fairfield is a park that we manage. It's over 100 acres. The loop trail goes through it, and the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation owns it. The county does not own it, but they're considered a private entity. So they were eligible for some what's called EQIP money, which is part of the farm program like CPR or CRP. type money. And we worked with them and the DNR forester, and they have basically successfully received over $100,000 to do habitat restoration, timber stand improvement in that property, which is very good. And I guess the point of that paragraph there is that we are bringing in a lot of outside money to help fund things that we're just not able to do otherwise, and we will continue to go after those kind of funds. Then on to work projects completed. Again, the main thing we've been doing the last year is all related to this campground development. The requirements for that Destination Iowa grant were fairly intensive. I don't know how to put it. It's I won't say it's been a headache because it's a good thing, but it's been a lot of additional work, a lot of online reporting and processes for bidding that are just very intensive. But we did hire French Reniker to help with that project through a request for proposal process. We then did hire a contractor, and they did get a lot of work done in this period. If you've been by Key Boulevard, you can kind of see, and especially if you drive through there, we've got a lot of the paving done, the grading, obviously, the sewer, the water, the electric's not completely done. Alliant has to come in and tie it in, but there's some things that'll have to be finished up in the spring. But a lot of work went on there, and several $100,000 were spent during this period getting that work done. So then there's a couple other little things there where we've done a little improvement at Zillman Hickory Hills. We're working on what's called a single track bike trail through Whittam Woods, which is kind of a primitive path that the mountain bikers like to use. But that's not officially open yet, but will be in the spring. And I mentioned the habitat work we've been doing through these grants there at the end. On to miscellaneous projects. Some of these I'm going to skip over. We do continue to help with undered classes twice a year. We have a special deer hunt in Jefferson County Park, trying to help with the high deer numbers, that are in town and in that area. Again, looks like 10 deer were taken during that season. I know we're over that for this current season.
Send them up to my front yard.
Well, yeah, we're not solving everyone's problem, but we've definitely done some good in our park with that hunt. And again, it's another opportunity for people. Lots of work on invasive species. I feel like every time I write this report, there's a new invasive species that's come to the county. It's just an ongoing thing, trying to keep our properties healthy. Myself and a couple, this is a little bit kind of different, and I'll note it that Brittany was on it, and I think our new staff will be on it. There's a thing called the Natty Committee, which oversees, there's a property, it's actually city property north of Waterworks Park that was donated to the city under a conservation easement that we watch over that to make sure that they follow the rules, but they got that put into prairie as part of the park. And it's very nice now. It's actually established, but they are actually getting CRP payments, the city is. So there's a committee that kind of helps decide that the city's allowing them to put that money back into improvements in that, I call it the complex of Natty Prairie, Pleasant Lake, and Waterworks Park, or it's kind of a fairly big chunk of property that they're doing some good habitat work on, and we've been participating in that and making suggestions. We have a conservation foundation trying to handle some money that doesn't quite fit in the counties, but it all does go to the county conservation system. If you're familiar, the Carl Zillman Scholarship is one that the conservation, that's in the Greater Jefferson County Foundation. Carl Zillman was one of our board members that was very generous to the Conservation Board, and they've set up a permanent scholarship, and we've mentioned the names of the 3 awardees of that. Then we list the various trainings that our staff have gone to. 2 of us now have to go to peace officer training every year. We have pesticide applicator training, several other trainings throughout the year to keep our certifications and things we need to do to legally do what we're doing. Worked a lot with the Cassidy, our forester, has left us, so we're currently without a forester, but worked a lot with her on this Whittam Woods project and some of our other improvements. And then finally, I just noted that our park ranger, Kristen Bernstead, did complete the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy Peace Officer training during that period. That's a 16-week training, same thing the police and deputies go through. And as a certified park ranger, she's required to go through it as well, and will be doing some of the enforcement things that we have to do in the parks. Plan for this fiscal year, obviously we're hoping to complete that campground project's a big thing. And I guess just so this isn't official, but my best guess for when it will open is probably going to be around Memorial Weekend. There's still seeding, tree planting, several things, the seal coating that are not done at all, tying in that electric. So it won't be ready like in April when we open our other campgrounds, but we're hoping with a decent spring, we can get all that stuff done and still open in the summer for this coming summer.
I say that's quite an accomplishment, because I remember when we started this process, the timeline for the grant was pretty aggressive, so good job.
Yeah, well, I feel the opposite. I feel like it took them forever to get, I would like to have seen this done this season. And I think some of it, even if they'd got the seeding done, it was a dry fall and it probably wouldn't have taken. So it's fine. It'll be there for the long term and will be a very good thing. Then we've listed some other things that are a little more regular. You know, we've got constant trail work and improvements for the loop trails, a big part of our workload. The Whittam Woods thing will be going on this fiscal year. We'd like to do some improvements at McCoon Access. That's our second, as you'll see here in a minute, our second busiest campground. I think I've mentioned some of these other things, and we're constantly signage. About time I get done with the sign order, then I discover several signs that I need again. That's an ongoing thing. And the other thing is our rules and regulations. There's some things going on that we just haven't figured out how to handle them as far as camping and keeping it recreational. Have some people that sometimes want to live in the parks, and it's not always ideal, but we don't necessarily have the rules to handle that. I don't know the answer to some of these problems, but and finally, then we just have our board member signatures. We're just so you're aware, we're taking over 1,400 acres, taking care of over 1,400 acres and 18 miles of trails, 3 campgrounds, 12 different areas, and obviously this wouldn't be possible without your support. So thank you for that. And there's a picture of Kristen graduating from the academy there. And then I've listed, which I do every year, our revenues. They're kind of, some of them are stable, some of them kind of go up and down over the years. Our shelters, we charge a reservation fee, and that's kind of, I'm not sure why, but dropped off a little bit this year. Our shelter reservations were down. Our cabins were about the same as last year, but they're not as high as about 4 years ago. We had some pretty good years. Then the camping, Again, we brought in over $36,000 just in Jefferson County Park alone. That's not our highest. That looks like about our third highest year. McCoon Access brought in over 8,000, which is right up there with most of its highest years. And then Round Prairie Park, just to refresh your memory, we kind of are phasing it out as far as a campground. Excuse me, we just weren't getting a lot of use or legitimate use, and we had an electric bill, a water bill monthly, and it just wasn't panning out. So we removed those utilities. I think that was a good thing. We're still charging $5 a night to camp there. And we've made a little revenue there, but it's at this point, it's not covering the mowing even, but it's still getting a little use, and it's still a very nice area. We've opened that to public hunting. I think we're getting some good response to that. There's some people partaking in that. And so it's a good property to keep in our, we just had to, something had to give, and we phased out that camping, but and then we finished there with some photos of the school and the summer programs, which are always, kind of the highlight of what we do. The kids really enjoy that. And then I include our REAP certification because it just basically shows, that first page shows what the county taxpayers have contributed to fund us. And that certification does allow us to get some money from the DNR because of what you've put in. But and other than that, I'm open to any questions or things you'd like to see done, or and I'm always available, if you do have something throughout the year.
I don't have any questions.
Good job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You got
I've
a lot going
monitored the progress out there on the new campground and have driven through it. So I'm excited that, and I agree with you. I think you're gonna have a lot of, especially with the full hookup and everything, I think it's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah, it'll be a nice addition. Nice to have it right there in the same kind of big park there that's already popular, and I think it's a good location too for the people that are gonna be using it.
Are we eventually, the thought process of having a road connect to the other one?
Yeah, we have a design, we have a design for several things, but the road's actually supposed to come clear down. Right now, it's just built as a loop for the two campground legs and then back out. But there's a road that will go down and basically south of the dump station in the park. So there will be a tie-in with the park. For the short term, they're gonna have to just, if they want to go down and use some of the other park, either walk. We have walking paths, but the road, I hate to tell you, is probably, it's not a full million it's over a half-mile of road, but it would take another big chunk of money to complete that. And we'll either bank our revenue like we have in the past, or I don't know if there's grants for that, but we'll try to get that done, but might take a little doing.
And we might be able to, I don't know, we'll have to keep an eye on trail enhancement dollars and stuff through TAP like you've got before, that we might be able to use some funds for that.
Yeah, we're always looking, and not just on that development, but on some of our, like the loop trail, you see these bigger communities doing a lot of hard surfacing of their trails, but it's competitive.
Yeah.
We applied for that second trail, and I can't remember exactly, but there was like 17 million in requests for $3 million of money that was available. So we weren't successful there, but
I know you've been working on that for several years.
yeah. And I don't know what'll happen. Either way, the trail's there, and it may stay a granular surface for a while, but
You've done a good job on getting outside revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you.
number 3, consider reappointment of Corey Clem to the Jefferson County Conservation Board. He's been what, long-term member?
Yeah, he's getting there. I mean, I feel like he's not been on there that long, but it's
Well, some of your people have been on
probably
there.
15 years,
Yeah.
maybe this will be his term.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chris, I kind of forgot what you look like.
Susan Feigl. All right, meet with Chris Estel from Public Health update. Hi.
Okay. So, yeah, I wanna give you guys a little update and then, so what I did, I just made a copy of our last, the last board packet for the Board of Health. Yeah, thanks, Lee. We do this at every meeting. For every meeting, we were meeting, historically, we meet every other month. The board meets every other month. With, the changes with, environmental health, they were meeting monthly. So, I think now they're back to every other month again, unless they need to have a special meeting. I think that's kind of what was decided at the last meeting. So that information is given to them. At every meeting. It's just a report on what we're doing and the numbers of the programs that we've provided, so they're informed every month. I know at one time we did an annual report like Sean does as well, and then our position at the time wanted to have like a monthly report, so that's why we do it a little different. So everybody likes their boards like different types of reports, so I will share this with you. This is Joe, you got this at the last meeting.
Yes, I did.
But I have an extra document that I just received, so I'll have you pass that around. This is a system survey that we had to complete. And Joe will give you, I made a copy for you for this. I hope I did. Maybe I didn't. Oh, here it is. So on the system, any questions about the reports? If you guys, I mean, that's pretty status quo with the information that you guys we have every month. So the system survey report is something new that we started, that the state started within the last couple of years. I think last year might have been the first year. What this is a comprehensive report from all the local public health departments. And this document was just released a couple weeks ago, right? Like the week before our board meeting. And this is something that you don't want to send out and then not have an opportunity to ask questions. So with that being said, I actually talked to Burdette the other day, and she gave me on your second page, the second the little other document. It has per capita, and Joe, I'll give you mine here in just a second because I didn't have this at the board meeting the other night. This is the data from this survey with how much per capita boards of supervisors fund based on population. So I highlighted Jefferson County. And that is, you guys fund $19.56 per capita. You can hand that over to me. Thanks, Steve. Hand that over to you.
Of
You're welcome.
these here,
Of that year, of
right,
last fiscal
of
year.
these, how many of these have home care as part of it? Because that would.
You'll have to read the report, Dee.
Okay.
Because it's all,
So it's all in the
yes,
report?
yes.
Excellent.
What it does, because I don't know off the top of my head, because it's got like, it breaks health departments down into population. It breaks them down into the services provided. It breaks it down if you are hospital-based or county-based, or if you're a contracted health department. Talks about revenue and expenditures. This is why you're just getting this report now from last fiscal year, because it takes a while to compile 99 counties information. I have never seen a as comprehensive state report for health departments. And I think part of what's driving this is the regionalization conversation. Functional capabilities, the structures. So it's all right here. the condensed version is, I'm really happy we have this document because we never had anything to compare. So when Dee just asked me that question, I can't really answer it because health, home care is really not a core essential service of health departments. It's something that health departments did for years to generate revenue. I know less and less health departments are offering that service due to cost. Some health departments have a hospice service. That's still a separate service, but it still costs the county money to provide that service.
What are the actual required by code
Well,
services? I know it's like your communicable diseases and dog bites, but what else? is it?
Communicable disease by code. I mean, I guess that question is what do you want your county constituents to have? There's have to have, and then there's other services. So, by Iowa code, it's communicable disease, child chip, and
Say that.
communicable
Yeah,
diseases.
the next one.
The child chip, community health assessment, health
Oh, okay.
improvement plan, and then immunizations. So when you're looking at the structure of health departments, they're all different. Tamir, Sean, we, with you guys know, we haven't hired anybody. The last hire will be 9 years in March. So we don't have staff turnover, so I have not hired anyone since then. So I will tell you, I just completed the FY24 system survey. I just submitted it a few weeks ago and when it was due. And for grant or for budgeting purposes, I'll share this with you. So for FY24, our budget was, the ask was $444,182. Of that, the board actually funded $278,129. So we generated between grants and contracted services, $166,000. So that's kind of an important number. We're still busy doing, contracted services with child care nurse consultants, immunizations, our Ask a Nurse program. I do a lot of preparedness stuff in the county. I just attended a training last week. I'm supposed to be out of the office this week, attending 2 more trainings. So anyway, as you know, any questions? I mean, it's been pretty status quo as far as we haven't had a lot of changes. We've just been busy trying to keep things going. And I will share this. I've attended a lot of Zoom meetings or Teams meetings. I still struggle with Teams compared to Zoom. I like the application of Zoom better than Teams. I'm not knocking it. I know Teams is free is included with our Microsoft. So I've attended a lot of meetings, and the message from the state, including Dr. Cruz and Ken Sharp and Kelly Garcia, has been, they still don't know what regionalization is going to look like. They say to follow the new mental health maps. They also say for supervisors to plan to fund health departments the way they've been funding them. And even when regional health districts happen, there will still be an expectation for the local funding to continue. We don't know to what level. So, because believe me, we've all asked about, if we get a regional health department, the supervisors are not going to want to fund X, Y, and Z. I said, we've been through this with mental health 7 ways a Sunday. And I said, we don't want it to be worse. We want it to be better. We want the residents of the counties to have service. And nobody wants to pay for something that they're not going to receive. So I said, there's got to be a lot of education. So there's not going to be, according to last week's Zoom meeting, allegedly, there's not going to be any legislation brought forward this year for action for regionalization for local public health. Now, I don't have a crystal ball.
They got to get through mental health first.
Exactly. You guys all know the painful process that has been several times. And that's the concern with health departments. We don't want it to be as problematic as that was. So that's the condensed version of a lot of hours of meetings.
Here's what my crystal ball says. What they're gonna do is like mental health, except they're not gonna fund it. They're gonna take over control and expect the counties to fund it in this situation.
Do you believe me? I brought that up. I brought that up. We bring up unfunded mandates. We bring up Supervisors, not wanting to fund things that don't directly impact their county with their dollars, because we don't have a lot of dollars to go around to all the departments. Every county looks a little different, you know, as far as their needs. I know Iowa is an older population state. We're pretty vocal and they hear us. And I said, we cannot have unfunded mandates, which brings up the point, like Sean just referenced his board. My board is appointed by you guys as well by code, different code. So that'll change too. And I don't know jurisdictionally what that will look like. We've been through struggles with mental health boards, appointments. Who's going to serve on those boards? Where does that responsibility lie? Is that within code? So you guys, I'm being as transparent as I can. I don't know. You got
We're
some
not
dice,
gonna know.
you got a crystal ball. I mean, and it makes it really difficult. A lot of health departments have seen a lot of turnover in their staff and in their programs, because a lot of their programs are grant funded. So then when the grant goes away, or the people that are working under a grant funded position, they have to know where their paycheck's coming from. So they will leave, and then the health department has to figure out, well, do we hire somebody? Do we not hire somebody? So it's a tough situation to be in as an employer and an employee. So I'll be quiet. Do you guys have any questions or comments or?
Well, I'm absolutely convinced in the meetings that I attended, first off, as far as I'm concerned, the first mistake in looking at this from the very beginning was hiring a company out of Pennsylvania that has no clue what rural Iowa is like. That was the first thing, but
Yeah, you and Joe participated in that Zoom that day.
Right.
That was painful.
I think that one of the things that they'll probably do, much like they did mental health, is incorporate or create Core Plus for core services and
Right.
Core Plus. But my concern is twofold. I don't want to see our folks have to travel to Iowa County to get a service,
Right.
because they're not going to have every county providing every service. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So for somebody to access swimming lessons, you bear with me just a sec, okay, they're gonna have to go to another county to access that.
But they don't do swimming lessons.
No, I'm just saying that I'm just threw something out
I got
there.
the visual, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So my whole point is that all this is going to do is cause us money
Mhm.
in terms of being able to, you know, when they develop these core services. And I don't know, like you, I don't know when it's gonna happen. I just know that it'll be an absolute boondoggle, but the same argument we had, Dee, regarding mental health was that we didn't want to be funding programs and using our local tax dollars to fund programs in other counties.
Mhm.
And eventually it's come full circle, but
And
it's
the,
gonna be painful.
what's happened,
I did several, yeah.
as most of you know, in mental health is, it used to be each county in the region had a supervisor with a say or a vote. Now there's 5 of us out of 12 counties on the board, which is not a majority since funding is not involved.
And I would envision that your regional boards will have a very similar makeup, where you'll have
Yes.
stakeholders, and it will limit the number of elected officials.
I would
But
assume so,
however,
but I don't know that.
I don't know how they can do that if they still expect the counties to fund it. See how the reason that changed with mental health was because since the counties were no longer funding it, they took
Right.
that away. So it'll be interesting to see. Nobody knows the answer.
No, and it's very painful. And even our hospital-based health departments, which are very few because hospitals cannot use a health department in their Medicare cost report. So even they have a board of health to report, and they still receive county money to a certain extent. So it's problematic for all of us. The one message that Dr. Cruz has verbalized has been, there will be a local public health presence in each county. Well, if you listen to what is said versus what is not said, what does that mean? Does that mean one person? And then everybody's brains run amok, and then
Yeah.
just like make a decision, draw a line in the sand and be done with it, and then we'll all move on and figure it out, right? I have brought this forward for years that the health department system can mirror the hospital trauma system. That every hospital emergency department is a level 4, meaning they provide the basic services, and then you have to meet certain criteria. Level 3, a level 2, and a level 1 trauma center. There's 2 in the state of Iowa. So it would be so simple to do that, and that wouldn't cost anything. And they're like, well, to your point, Lee, let's hire a consulting company
Yeah,
and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars when you could mirror a process that truly does work in Iowa in a hospital system.
Right,
But that's,
all right.
that's what I know about that. The other point that I want to make is with the boards, we have to either, this just changed by code a couple of years ago. It always had to be a physician serve on the board, and then we could have a nurse practitioner. And now that Iowa changed where a physician's assistant used to have a signature, but that's no longer the case. So PA, if they're a family practice, PA can sign orders as well. So some of those changes may be good because a lot of counties don't have a resource pool, like Louisa County doesn't have a hospital in our region. So it's problematic for them to get a healthcare provider to serve on their board. Any questions or concerns or?
I didn't know that they didn't have a hospital.
No, they don't.
They
So
don't.
that's a big deal. And I would ask that you guys consider, some counties do this. They don't have a board of supervisor members serve necessarily, but they'll have a liaison. So like Lee's attended a lot of meetings, board of health meetings, kind of in a unofficial capacity. So you guys are assigned a lot of different, meetings. So if there's one go-to person for me, that's helpful. Because sometimes I don't know, I usually try to go to the chair. Sometimes I go to Lee, sometimes I go to Susie. I just need to know what you want me to do and who you want me to report to, instead of trying to have a conversation with all 3 of you. Because I don't want to drop the ball, but I don't want to not. I mean, you guys have my cell phone number. You can call me anytime, but call Sean.
Yeah.
Sean. Believe me, I see Sean occasionally, but not, at the safety meeting, sometimes at ISAC, sometimes other times. So that's really all I have. So thank you
Right.
for your time today and let me present.
All right, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on, discuss and consider appointment of William Bingham to Board of Health. Hi. Welcome.
Morning, Bill. Thanks for coming.
And we have 3 spots that are open. So we can do some discussion today. We can go. I know you came to one of our, I don't know if it was a meeting or a work session a while back, and you asked some really good questions. So I was pretty impressed with.
Dee, if I could say something, I had asked Bill to
Time's
do.
up.
Chris, it's not you.
I got nothing. I'm trying to be good. I haven't been over
I
here
had
for a
asked
really
Bill to
long
give me
time.
a resume on him,
Okay.
some information. I'm gonna read that to you. Bill has taught management at ISU for a year. He's lived here for about 8 years. He's personally managed budgets at companies as large as 15 million. He's worked in EMS as an EMT for 8 years, mostly in New York City. Treasurer of the Middle Village Ambulance Corporation, advanced first aid instructor for 10 years, instructor trainer in standard first aid, CPR trainer for AHA and ARC, which I have no idea what that is, but I think it's important.
It's right up there with the NFL and the
Yeah.
MLB.
For 10 years. He created and led a first responder team at Monroe Community College while attending management departments as large as 125 FTE and 50 consultants, whatever that means.
Out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Managed software development support team, HS Medicare and Medicaid service tool for automatic payment review and approval via computer. Worked directly with MMS and doctors developing measurements.
Would you repeat that for me, please?
No. Did I mess any of that up, Bill? Okay.
EMT, we might have a part, no.
Yeah, I know.
That
He's
was-
breathing
Part-time
and he's
job,
got-
ding, ding, ding.
You know, I think Bill's lived here for 8 years. he does independent contracting, so he has time to do this. And I, for one, would like to see us put him on the board, the health, Department Health Board.
Is that a motion?
I'll provide you with an Iowa Hawkeye shirt.
Oh, Jesus.
No.
give it to my wife.
Okay.
So, oh, I get it. I get it. I'd like to make a motion to, that we place Bill on this board.
Which way, this way, or
Lee?
what?
I'll second it. Do we have any discussion? No discussion?
No
All in
discussion.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. For the record, no
Congratulations.
discussion from Lee is just incredible.
You do know that's a 3-year appointment, right? Okay, I'm just telling you, I don't know if they communicated that, so.
All right,
3 year,
years,
4 year,
lifetime.
5 year, rest of my life, it's all.
Yeah, I'm just,
discuss and consider appointment of Amber Mixner to Board of Health. I know I got an email, I'm assuming everybody else did.
She was not able to be here because she had a doctor's appointment this morning that she could not feel like she should cancel.
Sure. Well, and,
I did get an email too, along with several conversations from contractors. I would like to say Amber is very knowledgeable and very helpful to the board, but she does directly profit from board decisions and would likely need to abstain from all environmental health decisions. Because we don't want to appear to have a conflict of interest, because she's a good person. We do not want to degrade her.
Well, I think that as far as, there may be occasions that she might have to abstain, but she doesn't directly profit. Iowa Chapter 69 of the Iowa Code is what is the driving arbiter. And,
And what is that code? Could you read that to us?
well, if we got 3 or 4 hours, I can, yeah.
Go ahead. Got all time in order.
Chapter 69 of the Iowa Code governs all wastewater, tattoos, the pools, everything that has to be done by the environmental health specialist is governed by Chapter 69 of the Iowa Code.
Yeah.
And so basically, Sean needs to have a septic system installed, a wastewater system installed. He meets with the environmental health specialist, and a contractor submits a plan which the environmental health inspector reviews. So long and the short of it is that the property owner determines who they hire to install the system.
Sure.
The environmental health specialist reviews the plans and does the inspections. And where they purchase their septic tank is up to the contractor / the property owner, but it also has to meet Iowa code.
Yeah.
Now, it is true that certain systems, i.e. peat moss systems, require annual maintenance contracts. And generally speaking, your contractors are certified to do that. Not 100% of them, but most of them. Regional Utility Service Systems is certified to do inspections on peat moss systems. I will tell you, just for your information, that the company that produces the peat moss, I believe is going to ultimately here in the relative near future be sold or go out of business. And so they're using a different type of process that will work for those systems that our residents already have out there.
Yeah.
I think the term is cocoa filter. Don't ask me to
Mhm.
explain that because I can't. But my point simply is that, there isn't anything that in regards to environmental health that isn't governed by Chapter 69 of the Iowa
Mhm.
Code. And any benefit that she might receive as a result of Iowa Code, she wouldn't be making those decisions anyway. It would be the property owner, the contractor, and in this case, the environmental health specialist, which is Jerry Leonard right now. But I agree. I mean, there could be at some point where any one of us might have to abstain from. When I sat on the CETA board, for example, when they were in the market for a new copier, printer, fax combo, whatever, and Walker's Office Supplies would submit a bid, I could give them the benefit of my expertise. And even though I didn't benefit directly, I could have benefited indirectly because I work for Walker's. So then I would not participate in the vote in that regard. So, I mean, any of those, and am I in the ballpark? Was it?
I think so. I mean, just as long as she knows that, she will have to recuse herself if there's a situation in which there's a conflict of interest. And I don't know if that would be important to get in writing.
I was just gonna ask that question if I could. I know I serve on different boards, not necessarily within this county structure, but I've had to sign a conflict interest free, whatever the correct verbiage is.
I think that might be prudent and we could put something together. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Folks who may have one.
I mean, clearly, I agree with Susie in the context that if that situation arises, she's obligated or would be obligated to do that, to abstain.
Yeah, I think.
But that doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of her expertise in a particular area. The board would be remiss if they didn't do that.
When we put this on the agenda on Thursday, I just read this email, and after the agenda came out, I got a call back from somebody because I've been, calling various people, and they're interested too. So for next week, I'd like to put, because we have another position, whether it's remains with Jim or whether we go another direction. So I don't know if you want to act on this today or wait. I'm open.
I think we need to wait till next week. And maybe somebody should talk to Amber to let her know maybe our possible concerns.
Would you
Well,
like to do that?
If
Yeah.
you're gonna go that route, there's people sitting on the board that is employed at the hospital where they can make decisions to profit the hospital too and stuff. So you gotta look at it that way.
Good point, Joe.
Joe, we need to look at a lot of things. Her husband is also a contractor that sells sanitation equipment and septic systems.
Yes, but it doesn't say that they have to buy from them. It's up to the contractors where they buy, and I don't think she
Yeah.
would have any influence over
Joe,
that at all.
I just wanted to, we should talk to her. We need to get it right the first time.
Well,
She would have been here if it wasn't for this
right,
doctor's.
no, and that's fine. We can just take no action and put it on next week.
If I could, can I say something about next week?
Yeah.
I know it's ultimately the Board of Supervisor decision.
It is a Monday.
It is, there's a Monday in every
Yeah.
week. Sometimes there's more than one, even though it doesn't say that on the calendar.
Oh,
Lee.
okay.
I would ask you to strongly consider reappointing Jim Schwartz because he has a vast knowledge of communicable disease, the processes, labs. He also, with environmental health things as well. He's been a great fit to fill that interim term. He filled, I believe it was Dr. Trent's term when he resigned, had to resign because of his work schedule. So I'd ask you to strongly consider that. He was willing to step in then, and he's willing to serve a full 3-year term. And that's all he's served. Melissa, thank goodness, her service has been almost 17 years. She filled a partial term and then has served 3 5-year terms. So she's felt like she's served enough. So I can't appreciate her enough for her service that she had. And we have a great board that I would request or for you to strongly consider Jim's reappointment as a full 3-year term. And I can get with Elizabeth or Chauncey, or I can reach out to another county to see if they have a statement.
Yeah, I think it would be really easy to put together and, she could just sign it and, I'm sure she would recuse herself anyway from things that would be a conflict. Either she would directly benefit or an immediate family member too.
Yeah.
So there is that, but I mean,
Yeah.
not to say that anything would come up,
Right.
that would be a conflict, but just
Yeah.
to alleviate the
But
concern about an appearance of a
Elizabeth,
conflict.
that also protects her. and her family.
Absolutely.
Right, and I would have the full board do that, because I mean, my board members are all employed individuals. I mean, they all have full-time jobs, some in healthcare, some not in healthcare. So I would just have a blanket, they could do that at their January meeting, which will be a week earlier than usual. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. And that way that everybody's covered and then that will go in that folder.
I think that's a good
Well,
idea.
and that's common for boards that we're on.
Yeah, I have to sign a lot of those.
And I
statements.
have absolutely no concerns about waiting and and talking. The thing that I would like for this board to consider while we're waiting, to have a conversation, whether it would be Amber or somebody else, given some of the struggles that we've gone through in the past regarding environmental health, I think it's critically important to have somebody on that board that is familiar with that, has expertise in that area.
Like I said, do it right the first time.
Yeah.
Good, very good, thank you. All right,
So we'll put that back on for next week then.
Okay, thanks, you guys. Let me know if you have any questions.
Moving on, meet with Janine Parker and Gloria Countryman, and Abby, you were off when the agenda was done and we didn't know whether that was on, so we left it on, but obviously they're not here, so we won't meet with them.
Because at your October 24th meeting, they discussed that they would be coming back and you guys wanted them to.
Okay. Anyway. All right, meet with clerk of court regarding paper files, furniture, etc. Welcome.
Hi. I'm not sure what the question is.
Well, you dropped by before the meeting. Come on up. So, part of, as you're well aware, the records have been moved over to the Maple Street location. And then last week, we were meeting and talking about just general building storage. And it sounds like that there's been some boxes going in places upstairs, new boxes. So were you able to find anything?
I asked upstairs, I looked around up in the second floor, there, I don't see extra boxes. I'm not sure who's
They're on the fourth
complaining.
floor. They're in the attic, third floor.
There have,
Oh,
Then-
in that room. Okay, yeah.
there have always been boxes in there. So,
And there is a file cabinet in there that says overflow of Judge Coogan.
oh yes,
And
he
there's
is going to
furniture in there.
retire. He'll have to do something, I mean, like in July or June or how that will go.
And there is furniture in there.
What furniture?
I don't know, it's chairs and stuff. And I'm more than willing to get rid of it. In fact, that was my, whether I gave it away or gave it to Sean to put in the cabins or whatever, but
Firewood.
they're not even, they're chairs,
Okay.
not desk chairs particularly, but chairs and stuff that, I don't know, is there anything else up there? Actually, what might work out best with your schedule and your schedule is to go up and review what's up there. Cause obviously, you're operating in the dark, and I don't mean that
Yeah.
disrespectfully, but.
Truly.
So,
I mean, I got an email to be here and I'm like, okay, I don't know what the issue is, so.
well, the issue is, and it doesn't have anything to do with you personally, but the issue is, we spent quite a bit of money to clear out downstairs, and we don't want to start accumulating stuff all over again. And, well, I realize you have no control over this, but I think that the state needs to take steps, whether it's, and I know you probably already are doing some things electronically, if not everything now.
Everything.
But, that stuff that remains needs to be either relocated and I don't think, honestly, well, I'll let you guys figure out what's up there. I just don't think that the county should be assuming the expense of having to dispose of stuff that belongs to the state. And, for too many years, the state has, run roughshod over us, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think the time has come for it to stop. And that's not a reflection on you. It's a reflection on people further up the food chain. But it's pushed back at its time.
The other slightly encouraging but long-term, maybe light at the end of a very long tunnel, is
They are looking at the state level, they're looking at what records can be purged and pitched and what needs to be kept, and that's just starting that process, but I mean, we already have regulations, but they're taking a second look at those because they haven't been looked at for a long time.
Sometime ask Dave to give you a tour downstairs. We've got evidence that's 100 years old sitting down there.
Mhm.
I dare I say, probably the person that the evidence was collected about is no longer with us, in as much as it's 100 years old, but it's still down there. Cowboy boots. I mean, maybe
It's
some
a museum.
yeah, I'm not kidding, Joe. Historical significance may be attached to it, I don't know, but I can't imagine what legal issue would be.
Wait for somebody to fill them boots.
Could very well be. I have no idea.
All right. All right, so it sounds like you and Abby will do a little tour. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Discuss and consider obligating remaining ARPA funds. Speaking of which, I contacted the Andy Meter from Liberty and he'll come next week. He wasn't able to come today.
I did a little research on this too. I don't know how much
Good.
you guys researched outside of it, so.
Can I ask who's handing you?
The Liberty Communications guy we met with.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna put this in a memo format because I think it might be a little bit more user friendly because there's quite a bit of information, but. Essentially, I mean, the question that was posed last week was whether or not you can reclassify those obligations after the 31st. And you can, as long as the obligation was incurred prior to the 31st. And the program is eligible for those
Sure.
funds, basically. But the obligation, it needs to be kind of like legally encumbered. So either it's like a contract.
Right.
Chauncey and I were debating earlier whether or not a resolution would be enough, and maybe it would, as long as there's some kind of legal recourse for the contractee to engage in order to make sure that they get those
It
funds.
seems to me as a contract would be a prudent way to go.
Right.
Okay,
Contract.
I'm really confused. We already have a contract.
Well, we're talking about remaining funds,
Oh,
but I mean, if
Or
something.
changing funds.
Yes,
As the
right.
need indicates.
Obviously, if those funds are obligated, like via contract. And then after December 31st, that contract falls through, you can reclassify those funds. Just as long as it's an eligible program.
Thanks for checking that out.
Yeah, no problem. And I don't know if you guys have already discussed just obligating some of those funds towards revenue loss. If that, since I wasn't here at the very beginning when the board received some of those ARPA funds, I don't know if that's a discussion that you've had, but that's something that I could put in a memo too, because if there's any revenue loss as a result of COVID, then that's something that you can retroactively allocate.
I remember at the time I talked to the auditor about that, and again, it's been a few years ago. But at that time, he didn't think we had it. Now, whether we have since then, things have changed, so.
well, I'm gonna ask you a question that you may not want to answer, and I understand if you
Okay.
don't, okay? And if I go generically speaking and say, I want, and this is, just bear with me here, I just want to obligate those funds to emergency services. Now, how I define emergency services or what I include in emergency services may be a whole array of things. So let me give you a hypothetical. Emergency services, and we need to have 4 new tires, and I'm being flippant here a little bit, but 4 new tires on a sheriff's vehicle. That falls under emergency services. Now, it may turn out that we don't use those funds for 4 new tires on an emergency vehicle. But my point is does that not give us some flexibility
Well, okay,
moving forward?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. So how are you gonna do the budget process? Because you're gonna have to anticipate.
Abby said put it in the general fund,
What do you mean?
or not Abby, I'm sorry,
I
Shannon.
did say that though.
Okay, no, I'm talking about the department budgets. If you're gonna go around buying tires, as an example, for departments, they would have already
Just put a
budgeted
line
on
item
it.
in your budget that says emergency services ARPA funds, or whatever,
So you're gonna have to plan this during the budget process, so you know what's gonna be
has
spent.
to be obligated by the 31st of December. So one way or the other, you gotta figure out how you're going to do that.
The obligation, though, it's just a little bit, it's kind of a step above that, not just like allocation, but there
Right.
has to be something more. I think that it would require a little bit more detail, like if you're gonna obligate it to a specific department.
We'll take
Um,
some.
I'd rather see us use something for an ambulance.
Right.
That's gonna be very expensive. Even though there's levy, then the levy can be reduced or not. It doesn't mean you have to levy that amount every time. But we know an ambulance is a huge expense and it needs to be ordered yesterday probably.
So again, I could put this in a memo and, circulate
Cause I
it.
can just see departments saying, oh, well, I'll have the ARPA funds fund this, and then I can spend more on that, and we're not gonna save any overall money, if that makes sense.
No, I get that. My main concern is that we have to make a decision by the 31st of December.
I think we should give all the money
To me?
left.
Oh, thank you.
Well, would you leave those?
Oh, well, yeah, for that kind of money, you bet.
No, I think we would be remiss if the ambulance is costing us a lot of money. Whatever. We've turned down a few things. I think we should obligate that money to our ambulance. Nothing specific, just what is needed, because the salary, if you look at the salary and the money we've spent hiring folks and new folks, we've spent a lot of money. That would be the place that would help us.
And the other place is, we haven't done budget yet, but since our revenue isn't what it should be, I know last year, the only saving grace we had, because I know Shannon was pretty concerned about the revenue was under what was projected, and it clearly is now.
Mhm.
It might have to go toward that to help meet the bottom line.
And I'm
basically.
wondering, hearing you talk, and this is not an area that I researched, but I'm wondering if lost revenue could include any revenue that was lost as a result of getting the ambulance up and going, which
Sure.
was, like something that.
Well, and clearly the first 3 months, we got nothing because of the hiccup regarding, easy for you to say Medicare and Medicaid paperwork.
Right.
But I'm okay with generically.
I think
assigning
generic,
it to
because
the
I
ambulance.
think it drives me crazy to start thinking about all the things were done wrong with the ambulance initially. I'm sorry. So lost revenue, yeah, maybe. We had lost revenue, people not be able to come in the courthouse, or just give it to the ambulance, put it there.
Well, and it's not like a blank check for them to spend. I
no.
think if we're talking, I'd really like to see us designate part of it for an ambulance.
Well, actually, you can, I think that,
The thing is, Dee, it has to be spent by by a year from now.
No,
So,
26. 2
which
years.
is,
yeah.
is it
it'll
the
take
end of
more than a
26 or
year.
is it the beginning of 26?
And December 31st of 26, it has to be spent by, and I would think there'd be a way, if it's something on order like an ambulance, that
Yeah,
They're
I
gonna-
mean,
they're gonna
I'm sure that they
understand
have a
that.
specific definition for the word spent. I mean,
So I think we can't make our mind up. I hear a lot of different things. Let's
Yeah.
have Elizabeth work her wonders to appease us.
Well, but if we go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna give you
and
the
earmark it
options,
for
you guys
ambulance,
ultimately need to decide.
And then that gives you flexibility.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah,
So,
that department.
and any money spent would need Board of Supervisors prior approval.
Correct. But I just think,
And
if
it
we
would have
can't
its
pay the
own-
people, how can we have a new ambulance? Who's gonna drive it?
it would have its own line item.
And
I'm just
maybe it is used to get somebody in here to review billing so we can start recouping.
Well, I think we can, like I say, I know Josh wants to
Hey,
meet
Chris.
with his counterpart in
Chris.
Washington
Yeah,
County.
and that's great. That's
and
wonderful.
As far as that part of it goes,
Did you get,
so,
would you get Bill's information?
I gave him my card.
Oh, no.
Put myself-
so are you wanting a motion to do that now?
Motion to do what? Could repeat yourself?
Put it to the ambulance department.
Yeah,
Well, then I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion?
Please no.
Do we need more specific wording?
And then if you're obligating it, the funds to the ambulance and how much you're obligating, is there a specific dollar amount?
2,000.
And I would say that it's being obligated to.
Okay, so the amount would be $302,475.12.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like we can buy groceries.
Since
all right, so we have a motion. All in favor? Aye. Good job, you
I can't
guys.
eat bubble gum, so it's all yours.
All right. Set date and time for public hearing to repeal nuisance ordinance.
Could we do it at the same time we're doing the other one? Yeah. Which would be the
Do you want to
30th.
do that, or do you want to wait
No.
until
The 30th.
January?
I don't care. He's gonna be a nuisance anyway, so we're gonna have him next year as well. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
On the 30th?
Yeah.
All right.
At 9:30. 9:50.
On screen, let's say something.
Mary Ann, do you have something to say? We can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Are you muted?
No, you're not. Yeah. Can't tell. I don't think you're muted.
She is.
Oh. Hang on.
Click on your little
If she's
microphone.
unmuted then.
Oh,
She's
Muted on
unmuted.
her end.
what?
She's probably muted on her end.
Click on your little microphone.
Can she hear us?
Yeah, I would think so. Anyway,
No, not yet.
we're not discussing the nuisance ordinance. We're just setting a date and time for the public hearing. So does it have to do with that?
Yeah, I'm sure she wanted to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're gonna set a public hearing on the 30th of December. At,
9:30, because the other one's at 9.
okay,
how about 9:15? It probably won't, let's see, the other one shouldn't take long.
What should we-
9:30 is fine. Okay, December 30th at
at
9:30.
9:30.
So the other ones, are you talking about the vacation request?
Yeah.
Correct.
December 30th.
That's at 9.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion on that?
I make a motion to set a public hearing for 9:30 on December 30th for the possible repeal of the nuisance ordinance.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
We beat down.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 4, consider hiring Jacqueline Smith as a clerk for the county recorder. And
Who made the second that?
I did.
and this is not an addition, this is filling the position.
I would make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I do want to ask one thing.
Yeah.
Is Jacqueline receiving similar to what Chris had received?
I would guess she's lower, but I don't know the answer to
I just
that.
wondered.
Yes.
She is lower. By how much?
14,000-ish.
Wow.
I don't quote me on that stuff, but number from my head.
Okay,
Bye, Bill.
committee reports.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'll get that shirt ordered.
Extra large, please.
Okay.
That's all right, I liked your red
I
shirt.
might actually have 3 or 4 of those in my closet. I'll look and see.
He has a nice jacket, so I gotta say.
All right, committee reports.
I had early childhood, imagine that. So, we are getting better, Susie. I'm telling you, we were about 20 minutes into that meeting when we were discussing adjourning. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
It's only because it's
We had-
December.
We had very few action items on the agenda, but the one that consumed most of the conversation regarding the Maharishi daycare, which a lot of this folks aren't
You're
necessarily.
talking Singing Cedars, correct?
No, this is entirely separate of
Oh,
Singing
another one.
Cedars.
Okay.
But Singing
Singing
Cedars is in the same boat, but they're acknowledging it and
Uh-huh.
they're saying, we're not going to be able to meet the I4Q rating, and they acknowledge it, and so they're not going to offer scholarships or be scholarship eligible.
Mhm.
MIU, they knew this going in, that they had these hoops they had to jump through, but they're not meeting level 1. So the families could not use the scholarships and they cannot reapply till May. And so we basically, for lack of a better term, we cut them off and said, okay, you're no longer eligible. However, they had some parents / children who were eligible for scholarships for preschool. So we were going to direct them to other daycares, like say, for example, Little Achievers or community childcare, and that those scholarships will transfer
Sure.
to those locations if they choose to
Mhm.
exercise that ability. But as you're well aware of, if they don't meet those I4Q requirements, then they're not eligible for that, and then that impacts
Right.
funding. So that was, now, they're going to, they acknowledged in the meeting, because their representative was there, that they're going to move forward in May and put all that together. And so it will be reestablished.
So that means they'll be ready for the next fiscal year for the school. Is that correct?
Yeah. But, you know, it is what it is. And the bylaws don't give us an option to grant a variance, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And that'd be just a huge can of worms. You started trying to pick and choose who to grant a variance to under what conditions, so it just, it's what it is.
All right. Susie, anything?
Nothing.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't
Kind
either.
of like Schultz. over here.
The lab claims. Take a minute and read it out.
I did keep going into the auditor's office to talk to Abby, but couldn't find her.
Yeah, she's been missing.
I know.
He does.
Is it not deserved?
Huh?
Is it not deserved?
Yeah, but you know, Lee, on the other hand, I really had good service in this couple of days in there.
Did you? Oh, okay. Well,
Paid me to say that. I just want you to know that.
considering it was Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
I actually was in here Saturday at work,
Really?
yeah. And I gotta go over and,
Your wife kicked you out, huh?
oh, actually, I kicked myself out. I gotta go to the recorder's office and see if I can find some documents. Are we,
We're not done yet. Almost here. You want to make a motion?
I know I said that, I thought it was last week, or. Well, I guess I didn't. Okay. I make a motion to approve claims in the amount of $340,842.76.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Are we gonna have a budget?
Yeah,
work
but
session?
that's separate from the
Okay,
meeting.
motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
let's,
Yes.
all in
do,
favor?
please.
Aye.
I-
What time do you want? You want 5 minutes or 10? 10?
Um,
Alright. So, budget work session. So is this for next year's budget, or is this like to project what we think is gonna happen?
Shannon said that it would be good if you have any knowledge on any specific lines.
To do that?
Yeah.
Essentially, it looks like she's showing us what's happened so far this year. Maybe it's the first 6 months of fiscal year. And we obviously can try to figure out what's gonna happen the next 6 months.
Well, I want to just glance through here and see if there's any, let you guys do the line by line stuff. She's got the American Rescue. Destination Iowa grant is Sean's. It's that, so all that's ARPA stuff. Page 2. Solid waste, wouldn't that be Conley?
Everything so.
Ambulance, the thing to look at when you do the ambulance budget this year is remember that budget was originally set a little higher than we thought it would need to be since it was the first year. So really look at the actuals and see if that needs to be reduced or how you want to handle that.
we, second page here, expensive again.
Yeah,
So what?
I don't
budgeted
think-
is for-
right, but if it's just a matter of if there's anything I've got knowledge on that you guys need to know about, I think you guys are probably up on everything.
So, for example, on, just drop down the second line hazmat, there is no, what's what I'm looking for? You just said it a little while ago on something else. That's a per capita,
Right,
and that rate isn't going to, there's been no suggestion to increase that rate, so that $13,314 would remain the same as
See.
long as the population doesn't change.
Yeah. And it
well,
looks like what's been spent so far is half of that.
Right.
We're only halfway through the year, so that's good.
and I don't think, typically this time of year, the invoices come from like our HTF and all those, but we haven't received any yet to my knowledge.
It
And I-
appears that it's been the same,
Yeah.
but
And your 3,133 for Regional Housing Trust Fund, has there been any indication that that's going to change?
No. Just in aggregate, as far as the budget, everything at the state level has been that things are gonna happen. The legislature's gonna work on it again on property tax, so you know what that means.
So your community, whatever, Fairfield Community Center,
See, that's a discretionary fund, so if
Right.
push comes to shove in the budget, that one will have to go, because we don't,
but that's the senior center.
yes.
Correct.
And see, we still don't have, wasn't somebody gonna work on getting a agreement with them? Cause see, this is the type of stuff that's probably gonna have to go out of county budgets.
So
So I would question that one for the future for you guys.
transit won't change. And now we budgeted 4,000 for Mazda and Barnes, but to date, they haven't used any of it. I'm not saying they won't, I'm just saying that
Well, see, so that could be a potential, you could reduce that a little more. Potentially,
I think we need to have a conversation with Tony saying you need to spend it or you might lose it. Because surely you have projects coming up.
well, and I guess the other thing you need to figure out is where you're gonna spend your money on stuff like this, or are you gonna
well,
put it
see,
into
now that's like
salaries?
Bonneville, we added to Bonneville for this fiscal year.
Correct.
But there was a project or something.
Right. So Susie, those are your committees, maybe
Yeah.
you can find that out.
Bonneville was trying to redo update the cabin
Right.
for historical preservation.
And the agricultural horticulture thing is
The fair,
fairgrounds.
Mhm.
so still that's discretionary, so depends how tight things get. And you're not gonna know that for a while. All this other stuff is,
Do you anticipate, Abby, the public, official publications and legal notices being as expensive?
It seems like you're on track for that.
yeah, but remember last year after all this was done, I know there's some counties that just picked one paper because, what was it? We found none of them are published in the county, and that used to be the criteria, so
I know
something
that
may.
you have at least the Union and the,
And we're
Clarion.
publishing in the Courier right now.
But see, we don't need three papers.
No, I agree.
for our like election purposes, the general elections, that's something that it says that obviously if you don't have more than one paper, but it does say, I would have to read the code section exactly, but if you have two papers, you have to publish in two. Where some of the smaller elections, we don't publish in both. Like if Fairfield School is having an election, I'm not publishing necessarily in the Clarion because that mostly serves the people.
So is that in your budget or is that in this?
That's in ours. I'm
Right.
just speaking that
So as far as,
having two papers is something that's necessary for us.
right, but for what? We need to find
Publishing
out,
minutes and that. sort of
find
thing.
out what's required now, because I just know there were several counties that had just gone to one paper, and that would save a bunch of money right there if you can do that.
Well, I'm, so much of the publications are being done electronically now. You mentioned something about Pekin. Is Clarion? I don't want to say this. Beacon is in Jefferson County.
Correct.
So why would we care about Clarion servicing Beacon? Because Jefferson County has, albeit I use the term loosely, but has a newspaper that's
Right.
published.
I
That's
don't
what-
But
think
Lee,
the
it makes more
ledger-
sense that the county line is a mile south of Richland,
Right.
so
I don't think the ledger covers a whole lot of Pekin
No.
events. The Clarion does.
yeah.
But we're not talking events for here.
Yeah,
We're
I mean,
talking,
I'm just talking about publication of meetings.
so this is publication, it's things about public hearings and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And those required publications that were added this last year.
My question was whether or not the union went to the northeast corner of the county, which,
Sure it does.
No.
well, that's why we published in the Clarion way they have up there. It's because it's in the northeast corner of the county.
That's in the northwest. Clarion.
No, it isn't.
Thought it was in Richland.
No, it's not, is it? Isn't it up there by,
It used to be.
Right.
See, everything's
It's-
changed.
It's with the ledger now. They're both published
Yeah.
out of Cedar Rapids.
So they shouldn't be charging us double.
exactly my point.
My point is, somebody needs, and I don't know if this is Elizabeth or somebody here, but you got a bunch of money you could cut here. You don't, you need to pick one paper.
But we'll have to look at the code, but if the courier asks you to be official paper, if you get a request based on that code section, that's how you got tangled up in this mess.
Right.
No, but that changed. Ask Washington, I'm pretty sure it was Jack Seward, call him about that and ask him about it.
Well, as long as they don't ask, it doesn't matter. Right?
But if they ask,
Well, now they will because they were asked last year.
But are they, well, we'll have to see, I guess, but
But again, find out what is actually required.
because technically they're not published here.
Hmm.
or printed.
nobody is.
And so
Well,
that's,
technically you're right, but the union is the Fairfield Daily Ledger 1 day a week.
Yeah, they've only published twice a week, but
And the Union is 1 day a week and the Ledger is 1 day a week. So my point simply is that the Courier doesn't publish in Jefferson County. You're right. I agree with you 150%, but
And that's your out, and that was the reason all these other counties said, because of all the consolidation in the industry, they're all controlled by a few companies.
Yeah.
So it's duplication of money, so
and
this is
now we
one
don't have a
place,
radio station. Well, we do. but we
that's a separate issue. All right,
So Abby, I have a question.
Mhm,
Under official publications and legal notices,
mhm.
looks like in 23-24 we were budgeted 15,000, but we spent almost 25,000. What do you think that was? Because there were no really elections, just maybe,
This one, the elections are out of ours.
okay.
That would have been for
public hearings.
House File 718,
okay.
718.
Yes,
Mhm.
You had to send notice. I would want to check with Shannon, but I believe that would be the correct fiscal year that you had to send notice to
everybody that had a parcel. So if Susie had 4 parcels, she was gonna get 4 notices
Mhm.
for the same thing.
There's a lot of duplication.
Yeah.
but it looks like this fiscal year that we are currently in, we budgeted 22,000, we're only at 12, we still got 6 months to go. I just wondered what that entailed.
Requirements for newspaper or official publication for the purpose of establishing and giving assured circulation to all notices and reports of proceedings required by statute to be published within the state. If newspapers are required to be used, only a newspaper which meets all of the following requirements shall be designated for official publication purposes. Is a newspaper of general circulation that has been published at least once a week for at least 50 weeks per year within the area and regularly mailed through the post office of entry for at least 2 years, has a list of subscribers who have paid or promised to pay at more than a nominal rate for copies, devotes at least 25% of its total column space and more than 1/2 of its issues during 12-month periods to information of a public character other than advertising. It is paid for by at least 50% of the persons who subscribers to whom it is distributed.
I'm confused by all that. but-
I would talk to Elizabeth and have her, because I think when we had this discussion last year, she did some work on it. Excuse
That's
me.
you.
Okay,
So in answer to your question down there on that official publications and legal notices, when you ask what all does that include, it includes, for example, Susie, your property tax statement. Yeah,
Yeah,
wait,
okay.
and so that's sent out.
I guess my biggest question was why we only budget 15,000, it was quite a bit over.
because they added that extra mailing, the state, and we didn't know about it when that budget was done.
718 was
Well, and
the
here's the thing, if you look, Susie, in
expensive one.
in 22-23, you had, you budgeted 7,500, you spent 8,000. So you doubled that for 23-24 to 15,000 for budget. And
And you quadruple it.
then
For
they,
the
yeah, and then they
activity.
whacked us again because of all of the having to send out your birthday card 4 times because you had 4 properties.
I mean, our office had to send a mailing because of the bond issue. It's all part of that.
Boy, that's one that's really risen quickly, that line item.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you really need to research and go to one paper. I know other counties have been able to do that.
Well, and we're a captive audience, and what I mean by that is there is a specific, the legislature, once again, in their infinite wisdom, set out a specific rate that they can charge, and they charge it.
So put that on your list for your legislators to, because I know there was some discussion, the state, but the newspaper lobby is very strong.
So I want to jump down here real quick.
Sure.
Don't hurt yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm short, so I don't have far to fall. Labor relations. What are we wanting to do in that regard? Because we do have a contract that's coming up.
Well,
Jack,
you're right. And remember, you've got a 60, is it 60 or 90 days? 60, I think.
I'd have to take the contract out.
So
but
you
I
need
think
to
it's
deal with
60
that
days.
probably February-ish.
Well, but you're gonna have to determine whether or not you're gonna budget for it before that.
Right.
In my estimation, I'm just sitting thinking, okay, if we don't do this, who's gonna take the place of this?
There's,
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking the question. There's $10,000 there.
there's another gal that I talked to a few years ago, and she does several counties. But I don't know her name. We want to see it's Renee something. Carroll County has her if they still do. So if you're interested, contact Carroll County and see who they use.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what they'd have to pay for it, so.
It was in the ballpark. I don't know. That's a decision for you guys. Okay, so violation of county ordinance, is that nuisance lady? Wait, that's Vermont. We gotta go on, that's page 1. Go to page 3. So I guess the magic question I'm down on salary and janitors. Is Dave gonna retire in this next fiscal year? That this is gonna,
Yeah,
He didn't talk like it the other
I
day.
know, cause he
yeah.
kept telling us he was gonna retire, then
Yeah.
last week he said.
I believe Darren was chair when he first said he was gonna work another year.
So I guess just wait and deal with that. Otherwise, I think everything on here is pretty straightforward. You have to figure out what you want for the building line item. That's the one you can play with.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a stupid question that probably is gonna open a can of worms. We don't particularly want to open at this moment, but.
Go ahead.
Think we're okay? No?
We've got one
Third from
person.
the bottom
Yeah,
on page
I
3.
just saw that. That needs to be spent.
We had
I thought we spent that.
talked about that many times. Give
It's
it
one of
to,
those things that just needs to go away.
you think? 2 years ago.
Into the general fund.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't
Yes.
have to spend it.
Yes, that's a good idea. So do they need to budget that away to the general fund or take some action?
I will make a note so Shannon,
Have a research that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what has been spent out of that? This-
2,180.
you guys
I know that,
bought,
what?
Oh.
The
stuff for
The
environmental
printer
health.
for environmental health.
Okay,
All right. Page 4. Mm. I don't know what workman's comp will do. Hopefully that will go down. We don't know
Well,
that.
yeah, we'll hear from Joe Binns next week, which I know is not working.
Oh, is he gonna be on next week?
Joe is,
Okay.
yeah, on the 16th.
Oh, that'll be gloom and doom.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Okay, I'm heading over to page 5, unless you guys have anything you want to talk about there. A lot of this is just.
So I do have something on page 4 that interests me.
Yeah.
Emergency management contribution
So,
was 15,000 and we jumped it up to.
We're required by code, I disagree, but we're required by code
Mhm.
to show the levy in our budget.
That's fine.
even though
That's
we
fine.
don't
Yeah,
control it, but
but I
that's what it
disagree
is.
with that. I don't think that that's the case.
Yes,
but-
it gives a false impression.
Yeah,
Right,
but I also thought I'd reach out with your guys' permission, Joe, because Brett has talked about possibly lowering that levy. So that would affect the
Mhm.
dollar
oh
figure.
yeah, when you find that out, then we'll know.
Now, Lee,
Hmm.
when you do work for Brett, is that included in this funding?
No, because I'm not in emergency management.
Okay.
I'm in
Where is
911.
this, where is it, that included in here? Just curious.
If we don't attribute to 911 specifically,
Okay,
911 has its own funding sources.
okay.
When
That's
you
a
call
different
on your
budget.
cell phone, you pay me.
It's part of the tax. All right, are we ready for page 5?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it looks like,
Now, I will tell you though, Susie, just so you know, that 911 pays emergency management for Brett's services.
That's what I thought.
okay, a lot of this stuff here looks like it was one-time costs, like when we did that ambulance building.
Right.
So you're just gonna have to project what you're doing next year and go with
If
that.
you go back a page, I think it was on page 3, maybe not. Page 3, buildings, no, right above it, buildings, we budgeted 74,000 and as of the printing of this, we'd spent 54,633.
We've spent quite a bit on that already.
Yeah. Just for future reference.
On page 3, that was.
Yeah,
Right.
page 3,
That was for this year, because we had cut up
under
last
the
year.
buildings line item. Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th from the bottom.
And we've done a lot of one-time things, so you may be okay with that going forward, the same amount. All right. I'm over on page 5 down at rural basic services. Russ, is that gonna be the same way?
As far as I know, there's been no talk about increasing that.
I think we're down at what the requirement is for the contribution to libraries, so I don't see that. Isn't
Oh.
that population based?
And the salary line item, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Susie, isn't that? Tri-County,
Oh, yeah, that's Simcoe.
Yeah.
And part of that insurance probably is Simcoe too, because that runs through this
Mhm.
county, but they get reimbursed.
so I have a question. I'm assuming that the city is still paying a portion, but. We may have to look at, I mean, they've only collect, I don't understand this. I guess they get the whole enchilada, but to date, they've only collected $8,068 on the recycling. I just wonder if that's something we're gonna have to take a look at.
That contract's probably gonna be up next October.
It was
Isn't that
up a
every
long
2
time
or
ago.
is
It
it
was
3
never
years?
officially renewed. We just continue to pay.
No, we renewed it probably right before you started. We did that. It probably needs renewed
You're
again.
talking commerce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did do it because Kurt came
Mm.
over quite quick.
The other thing on your to-do list is one of you, I'm looking at you two, because Susie's on it, need to go on the checking account for the law center,
Yeah.
For the who?
law center for that board with the city. The supervisors, Susie and I were the signers on that.
Oh,
So
okay.
one of you two, just put that on your list. Well, you'll talk about that in committees, who's gonna be on that, but that person's gonna need to,
Go see Mary Ellis and sign your name.
and take me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, excuse me.
I don't see anything in here strange or unusual. You got a
So,
few places that push.
We've got
yeah.
$673,785 budgeted for land. That is the 440,000 of that was for,
That's Destination Iowa,
right,
Sean still.
They also had to put in. Maybe that's part of it, money that they were. That you're not contributing, but it's a pass through because they're
Right.
getting reimbursed for it.
Right.
That all has to do with that grant.
okay, because I say there's only 216,000 that's been spent, so I would. The use just, well, we'll get a little more in earnest, but I'm not. The contribution to libraries, I think that needs to be. I mean, I can remember, we cut it a lot over the years, because when I first came on board, it was $74,000.
No, I know, then we went down to 67, then we went down to 40, whatever it is.
60,
42,
42.
Anyway,
43.
you're gonna have to make a list of your unfunded mandates and see how serious you are about pushing back way.
Oh, I'm 100%
You got one?
serious.
Mine, because I got some notes.
And one of the things that we're gonna take a long, hard look at,
These are the ones you can. legit-
and I was looking and I didn't see it in here.
And this one.
Maybe it's in a different.
Yes. Thank you.
You
Yeah,
want mine?
keep them. I've got this here. So thank you.
All right,
I was looking for court services.
that's a separate budget. This
Yeah.
is just what's under
This is
ours.
just your budget.
You won't start the others till,
And DHS,
That's what that back one.
hey, I have a question.
You,
Bless you. Are we gonna have a meeting December 23rd?
Steve sent this on the Beacon budget.
I don't think we should because the courthouse might want to be closed.
I gave her.
It
Guys,
sounds
it's
like
always the past
everybody's doing the 26th.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to. There probably won't be that much going. If it can wait, let's tentatively plan not unless there's something urgent.
Right, right.
I doubt. there
I
would
noticed
be.
on our agenda,
Did you get one of these, Dee?
Yes.
we don't have a meeting on the 13th,
Of what?
December.
It's a
Isn't that
16.
that region?
District 5.
Yeah, District 5. Shouldn't it be on our agendas?
Because we're not making any decisions. That's
Okay.
not
Okay.
I mean, technically, it's not even a public meeting. It's a pay for play. Because you're paying a fee.
Are you going?
It's an ISAC meeting.
Yeah, it's not public.
It's an ISAC meeting.
But you guys don't put on like your Board of Health meetings if more than one of you go necessarily.
Oh, if we know more than one of us is going, we do. I do like the
We
idea of
try to do that.
having a
You're right,
liaison.
but we try to do
We're
that.
introducing a modest price adjustment of 5% for, well, okay, that's good to know, but I'd like to know what the hell the cost is anyway. Besides the
I
5%.
think it's in red there.
Oh,
Oh.
thank you, dear.
all
Yeah,
right.
point that out.
Yeah,
We're colorblind.
well,
So this is for Beacon, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
Snyder, I don't know.
I
if
got the
it's Beacon.
Stacy's.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, put that in your book. All right, anything else for today?
Yeah. So I know we haven't gotten anything official. But, and I realize we don't have any really revenue yet, but what are you thinking about raises?
I'm staying out of that one.
Well, I can tell you what, I was sat here for the conference board.
Right.
Did you stay for the whole thing,
I
Susan?
said I did.
Okay.
Man, thank goodness I did because Johnny didn't want to leave and go to the church, and so it was easier for them. There was a range around the table from 6 to 8, and they settled on 7.
Right.
Is that what the people here are giving their employees, who have employees?
Don't ask, I don't know. I was just listening. The one thing that, we had, oh, you know, I was reading between the lines, and this is just me, that almost like, if you want to do something for your kid and your kid wants 8%, and you say, I'll give you 6, the kid's good with that, so maybe that's what we were up to, but that's a pretty big raise. Even if it's 6, that's, we're gonna have to cut a lot of places to do that.
Somebody told me just divide it by 2, but I think most places are doing like 2 to 3 this year.
Well, I think that that's probably accurate. But a lot of those places that are doing 2 to 3 did 2 to 3 last year, where we didn't. Now, I'm not advocating that we jump on board with 5%, but my mindset was, and this is not set in stone, I'm just saying my mindset, my thought process was 5.
I think you guys probably need to wait and find out what your valuations look like and have it where you decide, but that's your call.
Well, we're gonna get cut. Because we're gonna be over 6%.
And figure out, why don't you call?
But I don't know what that looks like. I do know that Shannon said to me the other day, because of the passage of the levy, she says, I think we're gonna be good.
Mhm.
Now, that's just breathing a sigh
Yeah.
of relief.
Think of the other side of that coin, though. You've got all those people, and we had a few of them in here. I don't think you were there at the public hearing on the budget. There's some people seriously not happy. And so,
I'm not happy at what?
property taxes.
I get it.
So you guys are gonna have to figure out either take it from wherever you can.
But those same people, with all due respect, whether they're listening or whether they're not,
Mhm.
those same people want a road paved that goes in front of their house. Those same people call and complain because they can't get transfers. Okay, we have to pay for those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to be willing to pay the people the going rate to provide their services.
Mhm.
We can sit here around this table and we can sympathize and empathize.
Mhm.
But if I have to pay somebody $33 or $34 an hour, which is what we just are paying our road supervisor, then if we have to pay to get that kind of level of expertise, that's what we have to pay, or that level of expertise will go where they're getting that kind of pay. And the same thing applies to whether it's in anything else. Tell me again, Abby, 80,000 in Washington County?
They have a casino.
I get that, but my point is that to keep the people.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I think the bottom line is, we're only gonna have so much money.
Right.
If we want to give everybody a raise, let's say a 6% raise, 5% raise, it's gonna cost you almost $475,000
Yeah,
to do
sure
that.
will. It
So
absolutely.
where's that gonna come from? Maybe the departments, their budgets, maybe we should look at that?
Well,
I mentioned you once, and I don't think Dee heard this, but my thought was when, let's say Abby works for a certain department. She comes in and we give her, Abby, this is what we expect from you guys. You need to come back and tell me if you can live with that. And then we go from there. That way we aren't the bad people. We're trying to
I
give them a
think the
way.
issue, one of the other issues that we have to address, frankly,
Mhm.
is when you give a 0% or 3% or 1.5% or 5%.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm saying is that it for the year? Or are we gonna continue to hand out raises during the course of the year?
Lee, I think we first need to determine what the race is gonna be and how we're gonna do that. And then what you said is going to be the next thing we need to consider.
Well,
Not just do it together.
but
No, I
you need to
understand
know
that, but-
going into that amount, because if they're gonna get 5% or 4%, and then plus have the step, it's no longer 4 or 5%, it's whatever it is.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm not finding fault, so don't misunderstand here. But we just approved nearly an 8% pay increase. And if
Which
we
was
come,
$2 and something an hour.
right, but it's 8%,
Yeah.
okay? Well, not quite, 0.78%, whatever, okay. My point is that if we turn around, and a hypothetical number, if we turn around and we give 5%, that's a 13% increase in that particular salary line item.
And that's, I think, why your elected officials get animated, because they can't do that for their employees.
Well, but by the same token, we've handed out a lot of pay raises in some of the other departments, and I don't wanna pit department against department or anything of that nature. I'm just simply asking the question that when we have to budget for salaries, and then we find that we always ask the question, do you have it in your budget? And it's always, yeah. Well, how the hell did you get that in your budget? You know, obviously the exceptions are in the case, for example, unfortunately, we're losing an employee and we're replacing that employee. That's a little different scenario, and there'll be a reduction in that initially in that budget because of a lower pay rate. I'm just asking a question. I'm not advocating one way or the other, but I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. Do we start drawing the line on mid-year increases?
That come up and Dwayne said it's in their contract to get them pay increases.
What
They
contract?
don't have a contract.
The county employees don't?
No,
No. See, the history on that is years and years ago, before any of us were here, and probably even before the year 2000, I'm guessing, there was a union out at the road department.
Yeah.
And so at that time, whoever sat in these chairs made the decision to do very competitive salaries. And,
So they don't sign any kind of a contract. They're just
oh, I don't know
employed.
if they had signed a contract. If they do, it's,
for a long, long time, the road crew used to put all of their pay raises into a bucket. And then they would divide it equally amongst all the
and
employees.
that's only been in recent years, that's changed.
And that went away.
When did that go away?
When did that go away? It was not too long before,
I started,
well, yeah, it was not too long before Terry Allison retired and stuff, because Terry was
Okay.
still there, but
Yeah.
Dwight was gone. And some of the younger employees were going, you know, we don't want to do
it was
this.
right when I started.
And management didn't do it. And so then the conversation was, well, we want you to tell them to do it. And we said, we can't. If they want to do that collectively, we're not standing in the way, but we can't enforce them. And they said, well, but they're getting more money that way, which true, they were. But I remember having a conversation with Jess, actually. And I said, you know, Jess, this affects your IPERS. Because you're taking less pay And I used the hypothetical, 3% of 50,000 is more than 3% of 30,000, and that directly affects your IPERs. And he said, well, I don't want to do this anymore. So that's when it started to come
Yeah.
apart at the seams.
When you say contract, I don't know, maybe when they hire somebody, they have something, I think they might have it's not like an official contract, but it's like, these are your job expectations,
An
like it's
agreement.
an agreement, that's normal when you start a job. Here's here's what we do. I mean, we do that when we hire department heads.
You get 85%.
So, I'm guessing it's terminology, but there's no like
Shannon gets
official.
85.
Okay.
There's probably a
What's Krista
department
coming in?
contract, and
She
yes,
coming out?
that is in there currently
Scott is
because
leaving that?
when all this happened and we've
Well, otherwise
recently
that'd be a
had
nightmare.
increased
That'd be a
discussions,
nightmare.
yes, that is in there, so maybe they do a written thing with
I mean,
it.
I know we can't,
So there's something.
I mean, we can't remedy it right at this particular moment, and I
Speaking
get
of
that,
which,
but.
I gotta go out there and sign
Which is
something.
what I would love to
Dwayne
say.
texted me. So
Abby,
you
this
guys
is what
can
we're
carry
offering.
on.
What can
'cause
you
this
come
is a
back and tell us if
decision
you can
for
live with that?
you.
And then she'll come back and say, no,
Yeah, we
consider
are.
this, it's
Are we
just.
done?
One thing that has changed on the mid-year raises is it used to be an 8-year process and now it's down to 4.
Yeah, they changed that. All right,
Who is they? Who changed that?
You,
the
I
board
didn't.
did in recent years, I don't know when, you'd have to look it up.
your engineer.
I mean, because. Again, you don't have a contract, B, you didn't authorize the change as far as I know. From this 8 years to 4 years.
I think we did. Okay, are we done with this? Cause I think if you guys you're gonna have to deal with salaries after the first year.
Yeah,
You're not gonna solve that one now.
well, it'd be nice to let departments know what they need to put in their budget based on salary. So we don't have to beat that horse.
Refigure it.
Yeah, and
50
refigure.
million
I know.
Yeah,
times.
this is
I
what
agree
you did
with
last
that.
year, no.
Hey,
Oh, I'm done.
okay. Work session is, we don't convene over.
Yeah.
All right,